Monday, 2 p.m., September the 13th, 1976, Dr. Reams continues his teaching, Session 2, Cause and Effects on Theory of Ionization at the Tinker Mountain Motel, Roanoke, Virginia. A copy of this tape may be had by sending $5 and requesting tape number 3-976-2.
There is an equation on weight that you work out on that, but for roughly speaking, it's a percentage. However, it's a different type of percentage from money percentage. You don't work it on that kind of an order. So if you just actually add a decimal up to the point of 10, and then after that a decimal after the first numeral, if it's less than 10 before the first numeral, you'll have it pretty accurate. Okay?
Illustrate it on the board.
Oh boy. Wasn't that difficult?
That's percentage of the percent of nitrate
Right.
in the urine.
Right. Percentage of nitrogen in the urine.
Of the urine, but it's that ion.
Okay? It's exactly what I said. If it's under 10, the decimal is before it. If it's after 10, it's after the 1. That's exactly what I said.
Combined figure?
Sure, the combined figure. Anything?
That's the amount of nitrate.
That's the amount of nitrate or ammonia, nitrogen. There's two types. The top number is nitrate nitrogen. The bottom number is ammoniacal nitrogen. Okay?
Pardon me, on the 10, are you talking about the total number or each one individually?
Come up to the microphone, please.
Never mind.
I don't know what you mean. The reason I'm asking you to come up. Okay. Anything difficult? I was corrected a few minutes ago, which I appreciate very much. It's parts per million of vitamin C per gram of blood rather than milligrams. So thank you for helping me. Just do not put your decimals in when measuring your urea. Leave them out. Okay? You know what it means, so just put it up there, okay? As sure as you're going to put the decimals in, you're going to get confused. Leave them out. Okay? What's wrong with this equation? 7.5, 7.10, 4.8, 30C, 4M, 8/12. What's wrong with that equation?
Dirty equipment. Yeah.
No, I didn't say about what was wrong with the person. I said what was wrong with the equation.
Dirty equipment. And 480 and 8/12.
That's right, exactly. There's too much diversion between these two. So this one could be 510. That could be 5. Now, you got a different story. A change in one number makes a change in all numbers. Now, what kind of a condition is that person in? Let's move it doesn't matter about the age. I'm just going to move it off the age. It doesn't matter. It would be the same, regardless of age. What would be your problem here? What would be your...
Extreme acidity.
Yes, what is extreme acidity cause? Acidosis, yes. Acidosis, this is right. Now, it's in its final stages. Death is near. unless you can change it quickly. Anytime you find a pH reading like this, regardless of where the other numbers are, you have a critically ill patient. Now, let's change another number over here.
What can we do for that?
We'll tell you in a few moments. But suppose this number was 11. I'm going to put a 1 here. Now, and a 1 up there. Now, what have you got? You've got a person that's you really got your hands full to save. Now, what is the first thing that you would think of trying to get to this person after you have compared this with perfect? I have 18/11 on the side. What's the first thing that you would think of to do for a person like this? The first thing I would think of is a deficiency in vitamin D. Deficiency in vitamin D. That's the first thing I would think of, because his body cannot accept vitamin D, or has not been accepting vitamin C, or D, or calciums. Now, I want to get the calciums up. Vitamin D is the key to make calciums available. That is a rule, and don't you forget it. Vitamin calcium cannot become available without vitamin D. Now, what is the greatest source of vitamin D there is? Sunshine. That is correct. And what's another excellent source? Cod liver oil. And another source? Lime water is good for calcium. But vitamin D, milk has vitamin D and even added vitamin D in it. But milk is an excellent source also of getting vitamin D in. So at this, anytime your pH reading is 540 or less, this is a rule, 540 or less, you use vitamin D. And I'm awfully sorry that many times you can't get enough vitamin D, because the law says 400 is the maximum amount that you can get in any one tablet without a doctor's prescription. However, with a doctor's prescription, you can get 10,000 or 50,000 units in a tablet. And that is legal for you to take it from a doctor, but it's not legal to give it otherwise. So you'll have to be, some of you will have to be limited to 400s. Do not give over 400s at any one time. But you can do that 3 times a day between meals. Give your vitamins between meals and your minerals with meals. There's no exception to that rule. The vitamins with meals and the minerals between meals. Now, okay, opposite. Thank you. Minerals with meals and vitamins between meals. Thank you for helping me. Some of you are not asleep. Yes. Because of the filler that's in it. Why couldn't you give more than 400, 400s at one time? It's because of the filler that's in it. Okay? Yes? This equation does not call for vitamin A, but it won't do any harm. Yes? Well, the minerals should be in your food, and they're not. And the best way to make the minerals available to you is by the gastric juices or the juices that's in the foods. It makes the minerals you take a lot more available to you. And you measure minerals in percentages, and you measure vitamins in actually milligrams. And it's easier for them to get lost in a whole stomach full of food than it is by taking them between meals. So you get more benefit by taking your vitamin between meal rather than with the meal. Yes?
Doctor, is this 10,000
50,000 international units, is this in a liquid form or is this in tablet form that you would get from the doctor?
It's in a liquid form and a capsule form.
Is there any danger of taking the 50,000?
No, if with a pH like this, there isn't, but there is if you have a pH of 7. Yes.
Take one a day?
Yeah, if you have the 50,000, how often do you take it?
Take one every other day. Yes?
What is the relationship between vitamin D and vitamin A? Utilizing, a lot of times you hear that you have to have vitamin D to take A or A to take D.
That all depends on the individual. That works out on an individual basis. Most of the time, even with a low pH, you can have plenty of vitamin A. That's not a factor. Actually, vitamin A is more available to you on a low pH than it is on a high pH. So on a high pH, it's rather important to take vitamin A, but you don't take vitamin D on a high pH. So there's a contrast there that you should watch very closely so that you won't be taking vitamin A on AD on a high pH, and it's all right to take it on a low pH, but generally you don't need it. You need the vitamin A on a high pH more than you do on a low pH. Do you see, are you beginning to see through these problems? Are you beginning to make a little bit of sense to you?
What if you have a conflict? The upper number is low and saliva is high. Then what?
Treat it as if it were not a conflict.
Which one do you follow?
It doesn't make any difference. I changed the sugar to 450 to pH 610 over 680. I left the urea and salt where it is. Now, what do you do now?
Still water.
You give distilled water for a day. Why? You get the urea down, and then you start them on what? Lemonade and water.
Just distilled water or with diet?
Distilled water only. Just distilled water only. In other words, if they were going on to a fast, it would be a 4-day fast instead of a 3-day fast. Now, the first day, that urea should come down to below 20. And actually, you want to get it below 12 and then start them on the fast. And you'll find that overweight people have a greater problem bringing the urea down than people who do not have that problem. So as you begin to work with these numbers and see the cause and effect, go by the numbers. And so many people say, well, why don't you write a book about this? Well, the reason is that no diet or any diet will not have the same effect on two people. Do you follow me? You have to go by the numbers, because even though, for instance, you may give one the proper amount of water to drink, and this may only come to 24, we'll say over 10 the first day, and another one, it might drop down to 6 over 4 the first day, another person. So you cannot tell, except by test, what is going to happen. All I can do is show you the ranges and visions in which to follow and let you use your head in knowing what to do. So, we are marvelously made, complicated, really, and you cannot pick out any set of numbers and try to hunt somebody to fit that set of numbers. It won't work. So, get the idea of what to do according to the range, and then go by that. Now, would you attempt to treat a person or give a person a diet with these kind of numbers and let them go home and try it? Why? That's right. That's right. They're in a heart attack zone, and then if you lower the urea, without keeping this number up, they're going to go into a coma. So this type of patient must be in a retreat or next door neighbor or close to you, within 2 to 5 miles, where they can be watched and watched closely. Also, when you have a person like this that is over 30 years old, over 30, check the pulse to see if there's any skips in the pulse. Check the pulse. And it's much better to check the pulse with a stethoscope than actually by your finger on the wrist. Much easier. It's also a good idea to take a blood pressure when you have this kind of a reading, especially on people that's over 30 years old. So these are factors that you need to know in order to do. Because as this number comes downward, this number is going to come down also, and so is this one.
It's all been your wrist.
Yes. Now, suppose that we will have a person that lives a couple of miles from us, and we decide we're going to do this one at home. Let him try it. So you tell him to drink 4 ounces of water every half hour and the lemonade on the hour. Now, any time that the sugar reading, carbohydrate reading, is below 549, use a different sweetener each day. Anytime it's below 549, use a different sweetener in the lemonade each day. One kind of sweetener would be honey, another one taro syrup, molasses, cane syrup, brown sugar, so many things you can use, date sugar, blackstripe molasses, so there's quite a list that you can use and have a different sweetener every day.
What's the purpose of that?
The purpose of that the person may have an allergy to one of those that is causing the pancreas to manufacture too much insulin. And one day it wouldn't matter too much, but 4 or 5 days of it would make a world of difference. Yes?
They're no longer on the fast, they're continuing the lemon water. Still add a sweetener if they're below 5.4.
Yes. If they've finished their fast and they have a tendency towards low blood sugar, do you still leave them on with a sweetener on the lemonade? Yes. Yes?
How much sweetener, Dr. Reed?
Make it taste good. And go by the numbers. If the numbers gets above 2, they're using too much. If it drops below 1.2, they're not using quite enough. It varies with each individual. So these are factors you need to keep in mind and watch them closely. People like this should be tested every day. What form of calcium would you use in this case? Cal-2. And what else? Dolomite and lime water. That's right. Those are the kinds of calcium. How much vitamin C would you give?
Onions.
Well, they have onions, that's right, but no form of vitamin C. Why? They're already too acid. That is correct. Isn't this easy? Go by the numbers. Yes?
You said the lime water, is that proper in this case with a pH of 6.1?
Yes.
I thought that 5.4 was the lime.
No. You start vitamin D at 6.4. Lime water too, and Cal-2 also. You generally keep the lime water till it gets to 620 or 630. 620 is a good point to stop it. However, it won't hurt anything to going up to 650 with it, and then give more vitamin C. If the weight is under 100 pounds, you use 500 milligrams of vitamin C twice a day between meals. If it's over 100 pounds, you use 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C twice a day between meals. Use a different kind of vitamin C every day. Use the same kind of vitamin C each day, and you'll find that vitamin C is much more available to them and it's much more effective.
Now, when you say different kinds,
well, for instance, acerola berries and then ascorbic acid and then the rose hips and so forth. That's what I mean by different kind. Onion soup, yes. I'm sorry we can't hear you. Come up and use the mic. For instance, it really don't matter whether it's any child over 10 years old and you want to raise the pH or an adult. You give about the same amount, 2 Cal-2, and generally a tablespoonful of lime water if they're under 100 pounds. And if they're over 100, use 2 tablespoonfuls of lime water. That's generally what you do.
Problem with the vitamin D when you have the low pH. You said give them vitamin D. Did you do anything else with those other problems there?
Oh, you still give the vitamin D along with the Cal-2 and lime water, yes. The dolomite don't have anything to do with the pH. The dolomite's to bring this urea down over here. This is all that urea. This is all that dolomite does. That's for dolomite. That's to help bring that down.
Just the bottom urea is the nitrogen.
No, there's both of them. I'm just pointing toward the urea.
In the case where your pH stays at 6.4 or above, do you continue the same dosage of vitamin C on and on?
Yes. Yes. So these, yes.
if your urea drops below 15, do you continue to use dolomite?
You continue using dolomite if it's coming downward till it gets below 12 or below. But after 12, you discontinue the use of dolomite. Yes?
Your urine is 720, or I beg your pardon, yeah, your urine is 720 and your saliva is 520. What do you do there?
720 and 520. Do the same thing. It's the same principle. In other words, you got a lot of, the reason for that is you have a terrific amount of, well, come up and ask your question for the class. Because some of them in the
range that I've been in, have been battling with, the urine is around 720 and the saliva is around 520.
What would that denote? 720 or 520, what would that denote? A high count of what? Of delta cells. Yes, a high count of delta cells. What's that? Why do you have, what's the cause of delta cells? Mineral deficiency, honey. I don't know what in the world you're going to do when you get home when you don't have my head, honey. I'm trying to get you to use yours. Cranberry juice is a source of manganese. 520. So what you want to do here is use your vitamin D just the same. Use your vitamin D. Now, where would the delta cells be the greatest in this case? You're guessing. The liver. The liver, that's right, the liver. In other words, it's delta cells of the liver is exactly right. Now, what color are their eyes? They have a yellow cast to them. A slight yellow cast, if it has existed long enough. Did you find that true?
Mine are yellow. This is my problem.
Now, if it's got to exist long enough for this to exist, okay? But it's a liver problem. Too many delta cells. You need to go on a 3-day fast. Do absolutely nothing.
How about if it was just reversed? 5% on the top and 7% on the bottom.
Then what would it be? What would be the problem? Suppose it was just reversed. Suppose it was reversed, 720 on the bottom and 520 on the top. Now what would it be? Be a mistake in your testing. Okay? There's something wrong with your test. Okay? Yes?
No matter what the other figures are, if it's a 5.2 over 7.2, there's something wrong?
That's right. Yes. Yes. Yes?
If the person just eats something before you take the saliva test, it will go high like this. Throw it off so you don't have meat before you take the test a half hour.
If they have a very low energy rating, it will, and if they do not, they won't. If they have a high energy rating, it will not change it. Yes? Okay, come up to the microphone. Come up to the microphone and ask your question. Okay, come up and make the statement.
In the last class, he said not to have people not to eat just before you take the test, saliva test. And I found if they do eat just before, you'll always get these high bottom numbers. So I always tell them not to eat a half hour before, and I haven't got a high number, so evidently they're low in energy.
You rinse out your mouth with plain water, and eating shouldn't make any difference. Just rinse your mouth out with water, and then the saliva that comes is out of the saliva sacs, cavities, shouldn't make any difference. Yes?
What is the largest difference you can have? Still though your test is good. Upper and lower.
Go up to the microphone.
What is the largest
What is the largest difference you can have between the upper and lower number and know that your test is not a mistake?
And that also depends on these other numbers in your equation. Yes.
I have had some people whose spit was so stringy that they could, or the saliva, that they could hardly get it out of their mouth. What causes this?
The ropey saliva is caused because the patient is dehydrated. They do not drink enough water. They are dehydrated. And it's also, in those cases, you will find the sugar content of their system is higher. Generally, it runs higher when you find this condition. But it's lack of drinking pure, clean, distilled water is what causes it to be ropey. Also, it causes the stool to float instead of sink. So, when you're drinking the proper amount of water, the stool should sink. But if it doesn't, then the system isn't working normally. What's that? If you have a great difference between the pH of your liver and your...
Isn't it the fat in the stool that makes it float?
Fat? Isn't it the fat in the stool? There shouldn't be that much in it. But sometimes it could be. But a person would have to be losing quite a lot of weight or using too much oils in their food. But most of the time, your diet is wrong if that happens. Something's wrong with your diet. Also, if you have a lot of gas, then there's a lot of gas in the stool, and that causes it to float. But there again, you've got problems. What I'm saying is, if you're healthy, it'll sink. If it's healthy, you're sunk. Okay? So these are just ordinary things you need to know. Also, when you find a liver where the lower number of the pH is on the acid side, you will find a foul odor in the stool. But whenever it's on the alkaline side, if you have enough aerobic bacteria or eat enough yogurt, the stool is practically odorless. And any time it has an odor that's very offensive, something is wrong, and you ought to do